Hello, listeners. Thank you for downloading this special bonus episode of the Obsessive Viewer Podcast. This is actually the first of 3 episodes where we'll be talking about the final episodes of Breaking Bad, which is, in my opinion, the best show on TV right now. So we're saying goodbye to this series, that's this magnificent series from Vince Gilligan, and we're doing it in style. We're basically, after every episode, the 3 of us sit down and we talk about it, and then I'm cutting it together and putting them out as bonus episodes. So this is the first one. We discussed the first 3 episodes: Blood Money, Buried, and Confessions. And then here in a few weeks we'll put out the next 3. The next episode will cover the next 3 episodes, and then the final bonus episode will cover the last 2 episodes of the series. So I hope you guys like it. If you have any feedback, or if you want to, we want to hear what you guys think of Breaking Bad and where it's headed, and what do you think is going to happen, what your favorite moments were. Just anything Breaking Bad related, you can reach us on Twitter. Let us know. We'll mention it on the podcast. On Twitter, I'm Matt at Obsessive Viewer. Tiny is at Obsessive Tiny, and Mike is at I am Mike White. You can also reach us on Facebook at The Obsessive Viewer, and I have a Google Plus somewhere out there. And then you can also reach us by email at ovpodcast@gmail.com. We really want to hear what you guys think of everything Breaking Bad related, because we're celebrating the final episodes, and we're saying goodbye to all the characters and everything. It's a really bittersweet moment, but it's shaping up to be a really incredible final episodes. So without further ado, here's the first bonus Breaking Bad episode. So hope you guys enjoy. Thanks.
If you don't know who I am, then maybe your best course would be to tread lightly.
Before we start on the episode, wow, Aaron Paul did a Reddit AMA today.
Nice.
And I was reading some of it while I was in the bathroom. That's why it took me so long. So I assure you I'm not sick or anything.
Yeah.
But
that's okay.
If
you get up in the middle of the podcast, we'll know why.
Right. So far, it's amazing. The AMA is awesome. He seems like such a cool guy.
I bet, yeah. I feel like I want this stuff, all the Breaking Bad supplemental, to like go to some feed where I can just read it in 2 months.
Me too.
You know what I mean? Like, I kind of love it, but I'm also too scared to get too much information.
I know exactly what you mean. Like that article that I tweeted about from EW about the Star Trek thing. I mean, it was a great read, but it's also like making me think like, oh,
yeah,
okay,
too much. I read like the five best theories of Breaking Bad, and one of them, number 1 was like Walter's already dead, and I was like, I don't even want that thought in my head.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Jeez.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Or Walter faked his own death or something like that.
Oh yeah, I heard that too. Yeah, I think someone from Parks and Rec tweeted that, and I was like, oh, yeah. I don't like that. But.
No, I don't like it either. It's possible.
It is. I would rather it just be. I would rather the future Walt stuff be him just on the run after doing some crazy stuff.
Yeah.
And
M60, man. You don't kill one person with an M60.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And like people were saying like in season 4 or 5 they it all blends together, because I went on a rewatch marathon this weekend. It was crazy.
Yeah, I noticed. Jesus.
Yeah, it was. I went through like 11 episodes in like 12 hours. It was insane.
Wow.
Yeah, and I didn't have my PS3 because my PS3 broke down. So I literally had a TV tray set up with my laptop at the foot of my bed, and I was just on Netflix just streaming it like that.
Jeez.
Yeah, it was insane. But anyway, were you gonna say something, Tiny?
I was gonna say you're a trooper.
Oh yeah, there's another word, but yeah. But anyway, yeah, I was thinking like in season 4 or 5 they Walt is watching Scarface with Walt
kid.
Jr.
Yeah.
And
Flynn,
yeah.
He prefers to be called Flynn.
yeah.
But he's watching Scarface, and like all
That is season 5, by the way.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
And it's just like I'm thinking like I want him to just go out in a blaze of gunfire like that.
I mean, it sounds like it could be a foreshadowing.
Yeah, absolutely. And then go ahead.
I was gonna say I'd rather have the cancer take him.
Really?
Yep, because I'd rather have him be the ultimate mastermind and finally just get away with it, totally get away with it, fine. But he can't. He just can't escape the last thing. He has no control over the cancer, and it just takes him.
Well,
in the end.
I agree that would be cool, but I don't think that's possible anymore because what does winning mean? Like, he wants a lot of money and he also wants to keep his life. Clearly, that doesn't happen. We know that for sure. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I just don't. I mean, I don't know.
Well,
I want Jesse to kill him.
Wow.
Because he has done so many bad things to inconsequential characters, and things have happened to people in his life as a consequence of things he's done, but he hasn't done anything worse to people than to Jesse.
Yeah, that's true. Do you guys want? How do you guys want Jesse to find out about Jane and Mike he already knows about sort of about Jane and Brock? Because I was thinking about that. Like, I mean, he doesn't know, and it would be kind of. I could see them just going where he just doesn't find out. But I really want him to find. Want him to find out.
Yeah, I want him to find out too. But I don't think there's any way for him to find out and then not kill Walt.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like, if I get my ending, then it happens because he found out what Walt did.
Interesting. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I could almost see like Walt just straight up telling him just to get him all emotional and just make it so that he's to cloud his judgment or whatever, because it's going to make him want to kill him, but it's going to make him sloppy too. So,
right.
Maybe this is just the Friday Night Lights fan in me, but I would kind of like to see Jesse Plemons, who plays Todd, come back in some way and maybe not kill Walt, but be like a huge thorn in his side that kind of sets things off to where it sends Walt on the run. I mean, I guess Hank will be that kind of catalyst, probably.
Did you guys watch the Talking Bad yet?
I didn't, and I was going to ask you, how is that? Because
it's good. It's really good.
I didn't watch it either.
Yeah,
really?
I didn't watch it immediately. We watched it last night, but I'm sorry to do this to you guys, but it's for the discussion. Vince Gilligan teased next week's episode.
Okay,
and he's really good about it, and
Nice.
I will remain as spoiler free as he did.
Okay.
He said that Lydia and her concern that it's going down to 68% and things are happening and people are concerned, that will come into play. That said, who's left working for her but Todd? I mean, I think it's Todd, right?
Oh, yeah.
So, he'll come back for sure. I don't know for sure, but I assume.
I don't think that's a spoiler.
No,
that's
me neither.
Pretty much, I figured as much.
It is. I agree, but he's talking about, like, the next episode.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
His name is actually in the opening credits, so he's definitely back.
Right.
This season,
Okay.
But,
okay.
I was going to make that point. Yeah, I saw his name in the credits.
But I think it would be neat if he's going to come back in some way, obviously, and I want him to be kind of a force for Walt, because I could see him kind of being, because after he kills the kid and he goes back to the car in that next episode, he has the tarantula.
Yeah.
And it's like it kind of harkens back to Walt when he kept the teddy bear eye or whatever in his drawer, and he keeps like these mementos or whatever, and he changes his style or whatever. He borrows traits from his victims. So I can see kind of Todd kind of becoming the next one, but I mean also I don't think they've developed him nearly enough to be that kind of big of a force for him. So I could just see him being a catalyst for stuff going down.
Yeah.
But anyway, before I hang on, I want to mention one thing from the Reddit AMA from Aaron Paul's AMA because it cracked me up. Someone asked a question with a link that said, "When was the last time you had your pops?" So I clicked the link, and the link is just a picture of Aaron Paul, which he was apparently in a Corn Pops commercial. He was in that Gotta Have My Pops.
Gotta Have My Pops, yep.
See, I didn't know that. So Aaron Paul responded with, "Ha," and then he put, "Honestly, that very day, I will never eat Corn Pops again."
Wow. That's
and
funny.
Then the best part is that someone replied to it with a picture of Walt Jr. at the breakfast table with a box of cereal, and they put a caption on it that says, "Stay out of my territory."
That's great.
So just thought that is just brilliant.
That's funny.
I love the internet.
Me too.
It is
But
a great place.
yeah.
Sometimes.
Real quick, what did you guys think of the episode of Blood Money season the episode, the premiere, the first episode?
Tiny?
I thought it was a great start. As I was watching the bulk of the episode, I was like, okay, just kind of reintroducing everything, just getting set back up, and then Vince Gilligan just totally kicked everybody in the balls with that ending, just that like showdown in the garage, like as soon as Walt pulled his car up to the driveway, I was like, all right, they're probably gonna start the conflict here. Like this is going to be a little jab, just something small.
Right.
But then as soon as Hank clicked the garage door, I was like, oh my god, this is going to be amazing.
Yeah.
And and it wasn't even physically, it wasn't amazing. It was just talking, but just the dialogue and the stance and the tone of it was just perfect.
Yes.
Tension. I thought it was amazing.
Yep.
I agree. Mike?
It was awesome. Man, I'm trying to remember before that scene because you kind of glossed over it. And I guess not that it was forgettable, but I went back and watched it again, just the last 5-10 minutes or whatever. And man, what did you say yesterday morning, Matt? I said something about how I wouldn't. I was late for something, and I said how I would miss the birth of my first child to make sure I caught that episode of Breaking Bad. You said, did you watch it last night? And I said, oh yeah, we watched it live. I would miss the birth of my first child to put it in. And you did quotes as Amanda, you were like, what do you say? Push it back in, honey. Hank just closed the garage.
Right. Yeah.
That is disturbing. Yeah.
It is, but that's awesome. And do you know what? That's how that moment felt.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh crap! He just closed the garage.
Absolutely.
And then of course the line, and we know the line.
Yes.
Tread lightly.
Yes.
God, that was so incredible.
Which is such a heavy line. Double meaning, of course. Mm-hmm. Tread lightly because he doesn't admit anything. You know what I mean? He stands pretty close to his innocence, which whatever is bogus. But so it's like if you don't know what you're getting yourself into, you best for the family's sake tread lightly. But then on the flip side, if you don't know, in parentheses, that I'm Heisenberg, close parentheses, tread lightly, parentheses, or you will get killed. It's just so heavy and so awesome.
Oh yeah, I loved it. Like you said, and what's funny is that you say that he maintains his innocence or whatever, and he does to an extent, but it's also that point where he's Heisenberg now, and it's like it's basically he knows Hank's got him. He knows Hank has the information. Right. And he's not trying that hard to maintain his innocence. He's basically saying he was like, okay, I can't just outright say, yeah, it's not me, because he knows it's me. So I'll just kind of play up my sympathy. I'll play up this cancer thing and be like, yeah, I have cancer. And when that's not working, he's just like, all right, you know what? I'm Heisenberg. If you really want to mess with me, I'll go ahead, but know that there's consequences.
I wonder if doing that was kind of just his plan for the now. Like, listen, I know you know, but I'm not going to admit it just yet because I'm going to get away right now and then figure out the rest of my plan. You know?
Right.
Well, what's great about it is that from an investigative standpoint, basically, Hank has very little to stand on. He essentially just has. All he has is the handwriting, the notebooks. That's like the only physical evidence that he has.
Right.
Yeah.
And he doesn't even really have that because, he didn't go through any official channels to obtain that
That's true.
Walt Whitman book. So
yeah.
That's completely inadmissible. But so any evidence he would gather would be circumstantial, or he would have to flip somebody. He had to flip Saul or Jesse or Lydia or whoever. So if he goes that route, that's going to be incredible to watch.
Yeah. Which that makes me curious if he's actually going to reach out to Jesse, because Jesse's in a position where he would flip totally, I think.
Yeah.
And it'll be interesting to see. I hope that happens, because it'll be interesting to see Hank and Jesse interact, because they've had run-ins in the past and all that. I'm very curious to see what happens with that.
And they both changed so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Hank has become... It's funny that you say that. Thanks for the lead-in. Hank has become my favorite character on the show, I think. For a long time, it was Jesse, but unfortunately, I feel like the second half of Season 5A, and even this episode... He's been, not so much that he's not important, like we're seeing what happens to Jesse, but Jesse's kind of been pushed to the side. And that bums me out because I love him so much.
Me too.
His evolution has gotten a little stagnant.
It really has. I'm glad you guys agree, because it's a bummer. Now, Hank, on the other hand, of course they've been playing him up. And he just gets better and better. Because I love, he's like the lovable doofus, cool uncle, but like bumbling fool almost. But he's not. Yeah. But he's not at all. And he's a great detective.
Right.
And it's just good.
Oh yeah.
He goes from like Boss Hogg and the Dukes of Hazzard.
Yes,
to
exactly.
To like almost a master investigator.
Yeah. And just the way he reads his lines in that conversation, or I guess he gives his lines in that conversation with Walt. You see the culmination of his character's evolution just coming out right there.
Yep. And it's like I said to you, Mike, that basically this is probably the first time in my memory that I've gone into the final season of a show that I've been following and been equal parts completely in the dark about where they're going to go, because I have no idea what's going to happen. And completely have complete and utter faith that the writers are going to deliver something that's going to be just absolutely astonishing and really incredible.
Yeah,
that's
definitely.
Because I mean, even with some of my favorite shows like Lost, I was kind of like I was like, okay, I don't know where they're going with this, but don't screw it up.
Yeah,
and for the record, they didn't. But
well, we'll let listeners decide.
Yeah. In my opinion, they didn't. And if your opinion's different, you're wrong. But anyway, no, but like with every other show, it's just been kind of like I've been kind of along for the ride, kind of hesitantly, and I'm hesitant here because I'm afraid for certain characters. But it's just I can't wait. I really can't. And before we end this now, because I want to kind of move on. That cold open was just one of the most chilling things I've seen on the show, like ever.
Yep.
And I mean, just when he goes into the house and like the music is playing, and then you see like that big Heisenberg graffiti. Yeah. It's just it was just incredible. And opening it with the kids on the skateboarding and everything. It's like I love those moments where it's like they focus on this one little thing. They focus on one thing that's
and then
completely pull out. And then they just kind of reel back and kind of show the bigger picture of it, and you have no idea what's going on.
Right. I loved the sorry, Tiny.
No, go ahead.
I loved the idea of, and I guess it's just because I'm a horror movie fan. I love the idea that this neighbor is so freaked out about Walter, like that knows who and what he is, and I imagine these skateboard kids also know, and he's like feet away from them in the house, and they don't know it. I just think that's so cool. Just the idea that he's like looking at them through the window, and they're just skating at old Heisenberg's house, and they have no idea that he's in there. It's just a cool, eerie feeling.
It reminded me of Michael Myers in Halloween.
That's what I mean. Exactly.
Yeah. Awesome.
Exactly.
I was going to say that it's just such a testament to the show how those cold opens are some of the best scenes in the show, because just from a like creative standpoint, because I just love the way that so many of them are done. For example, this one, if you look at it, it's, I don't know, maybe 2.5 minutes, maybe 3.
Yeah.
The only line in the whole scene is "Hi, Carol." Those are the only words.
Yep.
But you take away so much from that scene. It's just it's packed with information, but there's only 2 words spoken in the whole thing. It's just people don't realize how incredible of a skill that is to have as like a filmmaker.
Absolutely.
It's packed with information, little dialogue, but also packed with new worms to spill.
Right.
And did you notice the 2 things real quick? One is that in terms of the cold opens that are just brilliant, is one of my favorite ones when I was rewatching it that I had forgotten about, and that if anyone listening to this is gonna have watched the show, but I just urge everybody listening to this to go back and watch season 3 episode, the cold open to Sunset. It's basically this this border agent, I guess, is going, or this Homeland Security agent is checking on this house that the cousins are staying at. That like they murdered. It's this woman's house that her daughter hasn't heard from her or something. So he's going to check the house, and it's just it's just like it's a horror movie. It's like a short horror film contained to these 2 or 3 minutes of Breaking Bad, and it's fantastic.
I love that. I love Vince Gilligan's sensibilities that way. Maybe that's I don't know who directed those episodes.
Yeah, I mean,
but I wonder if they're similar.
Yeah, that's a good question.
It's a continuation of the overall tone of the show.
Yeah,
I mean, I know Vince Gilligan did X-Files, but I'd like him to see. I'd like to see a horror movie.
I would love it. Oh yeah. And then one final thing, and then we can just move on. Did you notice when Carol drops the groceries, the oranges come out? Are you guys familiar with the oranges?
Bad things happen.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, that's right.
Yep. It harkens back to, I guess, The Godfather when.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Look how they've massacred my boy. I'm like mixing my references there.
Yeah.
I'm doing Jimmy Brockmeyer. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No, I'm not.
Anyway,
I have no idea who you're talking about.
Hank Azaria. It's a funnier guy.
Oh, okay. But
he like always puts in Godfather quotes.
Nice.
And I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah. But yeah, I noticed that, and I had been noticing the oranges references throughout my rewatch, because they showed it when Beneke breaks his neck, and
yep.
And then even when Walt walks into the nursing home, there's a bowl of oranges.
Nice.
As the camera pans over to Salamanca.
That's awesome.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So does that suggest that what's her name, Carol?
Yeah.
Whatever dies? Will die?
In that context, I think that.
Or is it just saying bad things happen?
I think it means someone's going to die.
Yeah, I think it's just death is surrounding that
Gotcha.
that scenario, which, judging from the decrepit look of the house and how long it's been like that, people are going to die this season, guys.
Now, given all the colors in the show, does it have to be oranges, or is it anything orange? Because the orangest scene in the whole show is the prison, 9 guys killed at once.
Oh, yeah.
Or whatever. And I don't know that they're eating fruit, but they're all wearing orange.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
I think the actual reference to it is just as being a reference to the Godfather.
The Godfather with the oranges.
Is just literal oranges. But I mean, given the importance of color in this series, I wouldn't be surprised if it's appropriated for just the color palette of orange.
Right. Mm-hmm. Cool.
Yeah.
Can't wait for next week.
Saul, you better not be saying what I think you're saying.
It's just conjecture.
Hank is family.
Okay, it's an option.
You understand that?
It's an option that has worked very well for you in the recent past.
Jesus, what is wrong with you?
My mistake. Family off limits, of course. I'm just throwing thoughts out there. This is a safe room, right?
Jesus. Send him to Belize. I'll send you to Belize.
Yeah. So season 5, episode 10 is called Buried. What'd you guys think of this episode?
Tiny, you go ahead.
I thought it was a great continuation of the story. It's getting to the point where it's hard to pick a favorite scene from these episodes now, because it's just an amalgam of just great scenes in a row. I'm having trouble picking one. I mean, there was so much good stuff in this episode. It was sort of I don't know how great of a standalone episode it was. Like last week, there was just two great bookends to the episode, the cold open, and then that epic close last week. And this week didn't necessarily have that, but I don't see that as a bad thing.
No, people talk about placeholder episodes, and this was like the world's greatest placeholder episode.
Yeah, it was.
You know, I mean that in a positive way, that nothing huge happened. It didn't have the bookends like you said, but still just furthered the story and was awesome.
Yeah,
right. It's leading toward those new bookends and everything. And it's funny you mentioned that nothing like big happened, or at least at the end. But there was a lot of, from what I saw on Twitter, there was kind of the reaction to the last scene with Hank walking in to talk to Jesse. There was a reaction like, "That's it? What's going on? That's it? That's all? Really?" Yeah, I saw like at least 2 or 3 tweets where it's like, "Well, that kind of ended badly or something." I'm like, right? That was incredible. I was like, I can't, like, this is like the perfect cliffhanger to the episode, because like all I'm thinking about now while I'm waiting for the next episode is, what are they going to talk about? What's going to happen?
Here was the reaction in the white residence as we were watching that show. No, that's going to be awesome.
Yeah. That's exactly how I was. I was like I kind of wondered as it was playing out. I was like, I wonder if are they going to show like, is he going to go in and like say one thing and then they're going to cut to black, or is it going to be like just it? And then it was just it, and I was like, that's perfect.
The episode was running 2 minutes long, so it got to be like 9:02, and I was like, oh, they're not going to show this, but I wanted them to so bad, and I'll tell you why I wanted them to so bad here. If you don't mind, I'll give my thoughts on the show.
Go right ahead.
I really miss Jesse, and he had
Me
no
too.
lines.
Yeah, totally.
He didn't have a line in the show.
He didn't, did he?
No, and that's really disappointing. I love Aaron Paul, and he's been he was my favorite character until Hank recently, but it's really disappointing. And I've said all along that I really want the final showdown to be between him and Walt, and I'm really getting the feeling that that's not going to happen.
You know, I don't think so either. I'll get into that in a bit, but I agree.
You know, I'm okay. I think they'll do it right. It's just not the vision I had in my head, you know?
Right. And it so rarely is with shows when they end, at least for me.
I just hope that he gets some vengeance.
Oh, me too.
You know what I mean? I hope that there's some retaliation.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
My favorite part of the show is how different it really seems. And I'll explain. The fallout of them finding out. It's like when someone in your family dies, or like your parents get divorced. I don't know. My parents are still together. But, like, something huge happens to your family, and everything just looks and feels different. And I could be wrong, but I feel like they intentionally chose different angles of the house to show. We see the house from different angles. Like when they're fighting over baby Holly, it's from an angle of the living room we've never seen before. When Hank is standing outside as Marie is there, he's at a different angle toward the house that we've never seen before. So it just made the house feel different, and I loved that.
You know, that's you're exactly right. I didn't pick up on that at all, but it was
very observant.
And it was cool. It reminded me of just now. That reminds me of that last season 5A, season 5A. I don't know if you guys noticed this, but
no lights.
No lights.
Yep.
It was the house was completely dark, and it was just perfect.
Yep.
So that's interesting. Yeah, it's in what you said about like when someone in your family dies or there's a big shake up in your family. It's interesting because it's like we've experienced the status quo for a while, at least by Breaking Bad standards. But now what we're so used to is now our retrospect. It's the past, and so we kind of see the norm as being just in the past, and like we're in this new present. That's really shining through, and it's really cool.
Yep, I love it. I noticed it because it made me feel sad. Which for in the best way, you know?
Oh yeah.
Just watching it was so different. So that was really cool.
Yeah.
And also we haven't seen the bathroom from that angle since the last time he was originally diagnosed with cancer laying on the floor.
Oh wow, yeah. I didn't pick up on that either. Wow.
Huh.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Lots of cool camera angles. They put a camera in the GPS.
When
he had to rock with it. That was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a scene that I wanted to bring up. That was the scene with Saul and Walt. Specifically, there was a line where, okay, like if you guys remember when Mike was alive and he threatened to break Saul's arm, like in an earlier season, and from there, like you can see this dynamic between Mike and Saul, or like Saul's view of Mike as he's terrified of him. So, and it plays through in the best way throughout the run of the show. But there was a line that Walt said. He suggested to Walt. Saul was like, "Well, why don't you send him to Belize?" Referring to Hank, saying like, "Why don't you kill him?"
Right.
And then Walt reacts like, "No, he's family. I can't do that." And then he was like, he just says he doesn't say it with any like real threatening tone or anything, but he's just like, "Send him to Belize. I'll send you to Belize."
Yeah.
And then there's a very subtle, very, very subtle, blink and you miss it, and I might be reading too much into it, moment where Saul he starts to laugh it off, but then just in the split second as he starts to laugh it off, he shoots them this glare like, "Oh man, is he serious?"
Yeah.
And it's very faint, but it's just perfect.
Yep.
And it was very cool. Very cool.
I do love that fear that wherever Walt goes, he just instills in people.
Yeah.
Still.
Like when Huel and Bill Burr, I don't know his character's name, when they're on the money and then Huel's like I'm just saying, man, Mexico, and then he's like, the guy killed 10 people in a 3-minute span.
Yeah. 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Sorry to
2
correct
minutes.
you.
2 minutes. Yeah.
But yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah.
That was one of those things. But I feel like there is, and I remember reading interviews with Vince Gilligan before the season started, and he said that one of the big things that we're going to see is that Walter's superpower has been lying, and more than anything, lying to himself, and some of that is going to start coming through. I think we're starting to see that with Walt. He's still evil, and he's still a madman, but I think they're grounding him a little bit more slowly.
Okay.
And I'm excited to see where that goes.
Nice. Tiny, what do you think of that?
He's changed his Walt's kind of changed his outlook.
Yeah.
Because,
right.
At first he's kind of gone on a loop, because at first he was doing this all for his family, right? And then he kind of got, once he was well again, he kind of got, he was financially stable. He had desire to expand and just turn into an emperor, essentially, because he's in the empire business. So that's what he had. He got very ambitious, and then his wife convinced him to, give it up, and he finally gave it up. So now he's in this place where he's just focusing on being a dad and being a family man, and now all this stuff is coming back. So yeah, he is still evil, and he kind of has to, get back into his whole Gus Fring, for state of mind.
He used to be Heisenberg again.
Yeah,
Heisenberg. There you go. Yeah. And I think last week, or the last time Mike mentioned, he's becoming very Gus Fring like, and I thought this week one of the better examples of that was when he put the GPS coordinates in the lottery ticket.
Yeah, that was awesome.
That was cool. Just a cool, and like it wasn't really. It was a cool scene. There was no dialogue. It was just him putting putting a magnet on it on the refrigerator. It's kind of a cool little scene.
Yeah, it is an interesting, interesting way to harken back to like the early days where he's just this family man who's doing this, who's Breaking Bad pretty much. And it's interesting because like now, I mean, he's putting a lottery ticket on a fridge, which is just an innocuous thing that people do, but it has this weight to it. Obviously, it's just it's interesting that even though he's essentially Heisenberg, even like on a deeper level still, but I mean he still has that Heisenberg thing. It's interesting to see that juxtaposition of a regular guy, Breaking Bad.
Yeah,
yeah.
What? Let's I guess finish up with expectations for the next episode, or like wants. What do we want to see in the next episode, Matt? What do you want to see in episode 5B3?
Well, I don't know. Do you guys know the episode title?
Mm-mm.
No.
Do you want me to say it, or do you want to stay in the dark? I
guess.
Well, next episode is titled Confessions.
Oh.
So I'm curious what that is going to entail. I'm hoping that it opens. I assume that the cold open isn't going to be Hank and Jesse, but I want like a big scene with them, and I'm expecting that. That's my expectation for the next episode, is that there's going to be a big tete-a-tete, I guess, with Hank and Jesse.
Yeah,
and that it'll be interesting because it's going to be. I mean, there's 6 episodes left, and I'm on pins and needles, and it's scary, and it's nerve-wracking, but it's gonna be amazing, and I'll let you guys go, and then I want to mention something else about I want to talk about Talking Bad, but
sure.
Yeah, so I don't know what to expect still. I don't know. And there was that scene with
Lydia.
Oh yeah, Lydia. We need to talk about Lydia.
About that. Yeah,
man, it's funny because she's clearly out of her element, but she is such a loose cannon. She doesn't understand the world,
right? And
it seems like she's the kind of person who just, okay, well, I'll just kill him because she has no moral compass or anything. But it's not like
super dangerous in her naivety.
Yeah, the Heisenberg uncertainty principle, but she's very volatile, and she's very just. It's gonna be a mess. I mean, like I was shocked when she had those guys killed off. Even if I got to see Landry from Friday Night Lights again, it makes me a little nervous.
Who is that? Todd?
That's Todd. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh no, I think he's gonna be a key player.
Sure. Absolutely.
Yeah, he's.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Tiny, what about you? What do you need to see in the next episode?
I'm really looking forward to the whole interrogation scene with Jesse and Hank as well. I think in the last episode, Matt mentioned that he wants, in his expectations, he kind of wanted Jesse to eventually kind of take revenge on Walt. Kind of basically just kill him. And I didn't have that opinion at first, but now that I'm seeing Jesse in that room, and now I know that the episode is called Confessions. I think it'd be really great if Jesse just found out all of the dirt that Walt has been hiding from him, and just goes and just takes revenge on him, and that's how it ends. Yeah. That would be. I think that ending is becoming more and more appealing to me.
Mm-hmm. My want for an ending.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
Cool.
Nice. Was that yours, Mike, or was that Matt?
That's what I wanted.
Yeah,
I wanted
sure
the confrontation. I wanted Jesse to kill Walt.
And briefly about that, I don't know where they're heading with it, but okay, Walt is very much against killing Hank at this point because he's family.
Mm-hmm.
But something that struck me about that is that Walt views Jesse as a son kind of figure. Like, and it's like I'm getting into Talking Bad, which I'm going to talk about in a moment. But Aaron Paul said that Jesse's the kind of guy who's kind of searching for a father figure, and he latched on earlier in the series to Walt, but Walt wasn't giving that to him, and he was too unstable and too headstrong, I guess. So then he latched on to Mike, and he and Mike had a great dynamic. But there was that moment in last season where it was the last time Jesse and Mike spoke. Walt is looking through the window and sees how close they are, and I feel like that's the moment where he's like, he views Jesse as having this. He has this bond with Jesse, and he sees that being threatened by Mike, and so maybe that may have been a factor in killing him. Honestly, maybe on some small level. But then, so I'm wondering what if Hank becomes that for Jesse? I mean, it's against, it's kind of a stretch, but I mean, what if Walt sees Hank buddying up, and I mean, obviously that's going to threaten Walt on a Heisenberg level, but it's also going to be like, okay, well, I'm okay with Hank going now because I don't know if I'm phrasing that correctly, but I just feel like it would be an additional threat to Walt.
I think I'm going to argue with you, and I might not remember. It's been a year since I watched anything but season 5. So I don't really remember, I guess, some of the good things that Walt and Jesse had, but I feel like Walt doesn't give a crap about Jesse. I mean, Walt tried to get him to break up with his girlfriend, Brock's mom. He tried he poisoned Brock. I don't know that he cares enough about Jesse. I think it's always been very teacher and student.
I think more of a. I just want to say I think it's more of a territorial thing. He views Jesse as his property. But Tiny, go ahead.
I was going to say I think that while on this is going to be a weird thing to say, but on the surface, those actions you listed seem, and they are very, very terrible things to do to a person. But if you look at his intentions, I think he was doing it because he thought that it was the best thing to do for Jesse, not because it was also the best thing to do for him because it was getting in the way of their business. But I think he thinks that Jesse has the same ambitions that he does, but he really doesn't. Jesse's not the same way. So he Walt was thinking in his terms and not Jesse's when he did those things, when he let his girlfriend die and he poisoned the boy and stuff like that. That was, he was his intentions, I think, and he's never come out and said it, but I think his intentions were, this is what's best for Jesse. That's how I felt about it. And plus, I mean, what was it, the end of season 3 where he kills Gale just to get Jesse back, essentially. Yeah. Jesse kills Gale, but it was Walt's plan.
Right.
It was in defense of Jesse.
Yeah, the episode before that when Walt kills the gangster or the drug dealers,
Run.
It's
true.
Run, and it's I mean that's his whole thing in the arc of season 3, or in that last arc of season 3, was that he needed Jesse because if he didn't care about Jesse would be expendable. I think it's more that he can control Jesse. But there's that scene in, I think it was season 4, where it's after he's gotten just his ass kicked by, I think it was by Mike in the bar, but where Walt Jr. comes to see him, and he's kind of in a daze and everything because he's been beat up and all that, and so he's kind of drifting off to sleep as Walt Jr. is helping him out, and he's like, he calls him Jesse. He's like, "Thanks, Jesse," or something like that.
You're right.
Yeah, so I think he views him as kind of a it's a mentor-mentee relationship with kind of a fatherly thing, and Jesse's said goodbye to the whole Walt is kind of a father figure kind of thing. But yeah,
all of this discussion is making me think of it as sometimes when we criticize something, sometimes when we analyze something we love, we kind of treat it with kid gloves. You know what I mean? In the sense that sometimes we think Vince Gilligan can do no wrong. And I remember at the beginning when I first started watching it, and I was trying intentionally to be overly critical of this show that everyone loved. And it was around that season when he was trying to save Jesse, like keep Jesse around when Gus was trying to get rid of him. And I kind of cried foul. I was kind of like, I feel like this is just Vince Gilligan trying to keep him on the show. And we won't get into that discussion, but you and I disagreed a little bit on that. But this is one of those things where I wonder if, maybe we're giving Vince Gilligan too much credit. I'm sorry. I know I'm going to get crucified for that.
Interesting.
But I wonder if the intentions, or I guess the way Walt has felt about Jesse, has changed over the years and over the episodes to perhaps serve plot.
Huh. Interesting.
Right? Because my big argument before was that he I don't remember how I said it, but like he could have gone on without Jesse. I remember thinking it was a stretch that he needed Jesse as badly as he did, or that Gus would keep him alive. I don't know.
Well, I think I can understand it being a stretch for Gus to keep him alive. I mean, there's that thing where Walt tells Gus, he's like, if you don't have Jesse, you don't have me. If Jesse dies, I'm out. You don't have a cook or a chef. Cook. But I think it's they're kind of bound in blood. In that first season, they kind of were in over their heads with this meth thing, and then they formed a bond. And I mean, on this, let's see, there's still that connection for them, but it has changed into Walt being able to control Jesse. That's like, they talked about this on Talking Bad, but there was that scene in the first in Blood Money where Walt tells Jesse, he's like, I didn't have Mike killed. I don't know. I need you to believe me. And he says implicitly, I need you to believe me, Jesse. And there was some discussion on Talking about what he means by need to. And I think it's that he needs him to believe him because he needs Jesse to still be controllable. I mean, granted, Jesse knows all this crap about him that he can get him sent away for, but he also views Jesse as a piece that he can use. And it's also... Maybe I'm over. Right, maybe
but and I agree with you, as a piece that he can use, but not that he cares about.
I was gonna say, like, maybe I am overthinking it with the whole fatherly thing. Maybe that's more Jesse's kind of thing, because Jesse was looking for kind of a father figure in the early seasons, but then it's just more a sense of controlling, and it's going to be interesting to see.
It's funny
in
that
this
we
next
spoke
episode
for 15 minutes about that, and we kind of went back to that's what I meant, just that he doesn't see himself as a father figure, you know?
Right. But it'll be interesting to see if his whole view of Jesse is being a piece that he can control. It'll be interesting to see what happens when he realizes that Jesse's out of his control. Yeah. That he can't control Jesse anymore, which is what I assume is going to happen when Hank and Jesse talk. I mean, it could be very possible that Jesse's going to blow him off, but I don't think that's the case, because he's going to find out. Yep.
And what I need to see in the next episode is a little bit of Todd and a little bit of Jesse.
Yeah. I was talking to a friend of mine last night about it, and he said that Todd is like the polar opposite of Jesse, and it's interesting because Jesse's kind of has this moral center. He's very compassionate about kids, and he has like he does things like he kills Gus, but he carries that weight with him. He has that remorse with him, and then on the other hand, you have Todd, who he's kind of and also with Jesse, he throws around bitch and yo and all that vernacular. And then you have Todd, who's this kind of on the surface, he's kind of like this nice guy. He seems like, or he's kind of like a charming guy, but then
he seems wholesome.
Yeah, he seems wholesome. That's the perfect way to say it. But then underneath, he's this sociopath who shoots kids and all that. And there's that scene where he and Jesse are talking last year after he kills the kid, and he tells Jesse, he's like, I feel bad about what happened, but I mean, you can just tell like he so doesn't. It's a fake remorse, right. And it's just, I really hope you're right. I hope that there's more scenes with them.
Or it's the wrong kind of remorse. It's like oh yeah, I was borrowing this DVD from a guy, I accidentally broke it. I feel
right.
But he's talking about killing a kid.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, but you're not wrong. That's it. Yeah. That's funny.
Yeah. And I think that it's and I want to say again, or I don't remember if I mentioned this last time, but there was, I think when I was rewatching the series leading up to season 5B's premiere, I like they did the first season, they did the whole disposing of a body in a barrel, and I'm like, oh, that's funny because I mean, he got the wrong thing, or he tried to do it in the bathtub, and it's disastrous circumstances or consequences. But then as the series progresses, they do that again and again, and it's like, I mean, they do that, and then they have in Box Cutter, Victor, they do it to Victor, and it's like a high pressure kind of tension there because they don't know what's going to happen with Gus, and then they do it with a kid, and it's just like that's like the most messed up thing they've done in the series really for me, because I mean it just makes me feel so uncomfortable.
It is, but I love that they did the bike. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
that's like the bike
exactly.
as the kid. You know what I mean? We got to get rid of the evidence, and then they show us chopping up all the pieces of the bike, right?
Yeah.
Putting every piece of the bike into the bucket. I thought that was really cool, and then showing the kid's hand in the dirt.
Right. It's just. I mean, it's so. I don't know how else to describe it except that that's just the most messed up thing you can do to human remains.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
But real quick, I want to. Tiny, you haven't watched Talking Bad, have you?
I did watch this past one. Yeah.
Nice. Okay, and Mike, have you been watching?
Yeah, I
it?
watched both of them.
Okay, I watched both of them last night at a friend's house, and it was neat because.
Wait. Tiny, your house?
No.
He didn't watch it at my house. I don't.
I have like one or two other friends, Mike.
No.
I don't allow it. No.
No. Oh, okay. Well, but I was at a friend's house and I watched them, and I was a little on the fence about it. I mean, I love Chris Hardwick. I mean, he's awesome, but I was kind of nervous about there being an after show about Breaking Bad because I feel like that's a more internal series. That's more like it's something that you can ponder over, but it's not something I immediately want to see a post-show discussion about.
That's why we wait a week. I kind of wanted to wait. Exactly. So, but I was impressed with the show. I was really impressed. I thought that it was a cool segment for after the show, and I thought it was funny because the first episode with they had Julie Bowen from Modern Family. I thought that was such a great interview. I mean, she was great. Yeah, she was.
And she gets the show, and that's the important thing with me is that she gets the show. And although I don't agree with her that she said that she's rooting for Walt, and I'm like, I just can't root for Walt.
Nobody's
at this point.
rooting for Walt anymore.
Yeah. So, but I thought that was great, and I loved Aaron Paul on it last week, and after this episode, it was great.
I liked Anna Gunn's anecdote as well, where she was talking about the scene she did with her Skylar and Marie, where Marie confronts her. That was, I think that was, I don't know if it was my favorite scene from this week, but I think it was probably the best best scene, like either that or when Skylar and Walt are talking after he passed out on the bathroom floor.
That's my favorite.
But I liked that episode, I liked that scene, just because Anna Gunn's performance was really impressive. Because if you go back and I rewatched the episode last night, and if you watch it again, Anna Gunn literally has 0 lines. It's her performance is entirely body language. As Marie is asking her, how long she's known and all that stuff. There's no Marie pieces it all together strictly by her body language, which is just really, she doesn't even like shake her head yes or no or anything. It's really impressive.
Yeah. Mike, what do you think about Talking Bad?
I like it, and I agree with you. I didn't want to watch it immediately, but I did watch it. I watch it the Monday after, and I like it a lot. Chris Hardwick has made a big effort, and he even said that he was going to make an effort to make sure that it doesn't have the same tone that Talking Dead has, in that they're comic book nerds being excited about it. He understands the tone of that, and I really do get that feeling, and so I appreciate that. It's really a lot of teasing, which makes me just want to watch the episodes more. So I'm very neutral about Talking Bad. I don't feel like we get. I agree, Anna Gunn's anecdote was interesting, but I don't feel like we get that much information. So it's really just kind of extending the tease a little bit longer.
Yeah,
it's blowing a lot of smoke.
It is totally. Yeah. So I could take it or leave it, but I definitely don't dislike it.
I loved Vince Gilligan's tease for the next episode, where it shows a screenshot of Walt and Skylar at a table at a restaurant.
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, and they do not get green beans or whatever he said.
They don't get margaritas.
Yeah, something.
Yeah.
But you know what though? It worked. I was excited.
It does. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's one of the things I didn't like about Talking Dead, is that they showed clips from the next episode. I'm adamantly against watching clips, because why would you want to see a section of a very small section of something you're going to see in a week? Because it just kind of, I don't know, it makes the entire episode kind of build around that, for me at least.
Yeah.
But again, I kind of want to mention this briefly. Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm just doing my Vince Gilligan.
Oh, okay, nice.
On a show like Breaking Bad.
But there was something that Julie Bowen said on her episode, or on the first episode, kind of struck me as like, wow, I didn't even consider this at all. The cold open for episode 9 for the premiere, with Walt walking through the house and he sees Heisenberg written on the wall. Maybe it was just seeing the kids on the skateboards in the pool, but my interpretation of it, that it was just strictly like, as soon as I saw it, I was like, okay, this is what it is, and I'm just strictly going for it. Like, there's no other explanation for it except for what I'm about to say. But I assumed that it was showing that he's like a legend now. He's like kind of this legend, and then like the kids spray painting it on there because, hey, yeah, Heisenberg, he's cool.
Right.
But Julie Bowen had kind of a different take on it on Talking Bad. She said that it's clear that someone is after him, and that's like a warning. She viewed that as kind of a warning, and he's got the machine gun, he's getting the ricin, and he's kind of going on the offensive as someone's coming after him, or on the defensive, I mean. And that's something that never really struck my mind, because I thought maybe, I don't know. I just thought that
yeah. I don't know. I'm gonna go with that he's a legend. I feel like the kids spray painted that. I'm with you.
Me too. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tiny, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm with you on that, but I thought I'm just surprised by the fact that you never thought he was on the defensive, or someone was after him, because obviously somebody was. I mean, he had the machine gun and stuff like that, and
right,
it's clearly on the run.
Yeah. Well, I've been kind of forging this association in my brain since the premiere of last season, where they showed him buying the gun, was that all bets are off and he's just going after people. I kind of assumed that he was going to be in the interim between the start of season 5 and his 52nd birthday, something happens that makes him just go full Heisenberg, and he's just going after the people that have wronged him. That's what I just assumed of it. But,
okay.
I mean, it's much more likely that he's on the run and people are after him. But
yeah,
and it's probably Lydia.
Yep.
So it'll be interesting going forward to see what happens.
I like that became clear. I mean, I was full Heisenberg would be if like the FBI was coming after him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and maybe that's what I was thinking.
And he was going to have to fend them off with an M60. But no, I think it's pretty clearly Lydia's guys.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting. I kind of wish that it was more like the feds are after him and he's like his all that, and maybe it's both. Honestly,
could be.
Yeah. I had a kind of a wild thought that this isn't going to be the case. I don't think, but like, what if Lydia has this is crazy, but what if Lydia has his family killed, and that's why the house is all boarded up and all that. And then that's what. Yeah,
that'd be rough.
That would be rough. Would be. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know that it's that type of show. It's a rough show, but man, that would be. I think that would anger a lot of people.
Maybe. No, but I'm just thinking, like, I mean, all bets are off, and I mean, that could be a possibility. Maybe not, because I mean, I had that thought that it would be that maybe Lydia has his family killed, but then I immediately thought, like, when he walks out of the house and he sees Carol, he's like, "Hello, Carol," and he says it kind of he's a little more jovial than he would be if his family was just murdered.
Yeah, good point. Yep.
So, yeah. So it's a flimsy theory, but I feel like something's gonna. I'm anxious to find out when it's gonna happen. That something's gonna happen that makes him just go and do whatever it is that happens with a gun and all that.
Do you think they filmed all of those scenes at the same time?
Like the Denny's thing?
The cold open for episode 9?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not?
Absolutely not, because I remember at the end of Season 5, or Season 5A last year, I remember reading, and this kind of made me a little nervous for a brief moment before I had just complete implicit faith with the writers, but Vince Gilligan said after last season ended that they basically wrote Walt on his 52nd birthday at Denny's buying M60 or whatever it is, and they just needed the focus on the off season was trying to figure out why.
Oh no, okay.
So yeah, so and that made me a little nervous, but yeah.
Well, do you think that they have filmed those kind of scenes from this season yet? You know what I mean? Like, so he has hair and it looks consistent. Do you think they know? I mean, clearly they know now because it's over, but
right.
Do you think they knew before the start of these 8 episodes exactly what they were going to do and film those in a chunk?
I'm sure they did.
Yeah.
I'm sure that they...
probably.
I'm sure.
Okay.
I
probably figured it all
I
out.
just asked that because a lot, if Vincent Gilligan intended one thing and then they filmed it where Walt seems jovial, that we could be wrong in assuming anything about that because they don't know exactly like what happens yet. You know what I mean? He doesn't know exactly how he's supposed to be playing that scene.
I assume that before they filmed that scene, they had it all mapped out.
Okay.
Yeah. Tiny, what do you think?
Yeah, I pretty much agree. I think that's... Yeah.
Yeah. All right, well, that pretty much does it.
That's it. Yeah. Another week in the books.
All right.
Jesse, I am not working you.
Yes. Yes, you are. All right, just drop the whole concerned dad thing and tell me the truth. I mean, you're acting like me leaving town is all about me and turning over a new leaf, but it's really about you. I mean, you need me gone because your dickhead brother-in-law is never gonna let up. Just say so. Just ask me for a favor. Just tell me you don't give a shit about me, and it's either this, or you'll kill me the same way you killed Mike.
So, how about that guacamole, guys?
It depends. Do you make it right there on the table?
Oh, yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Hey, did I tell you guys, I was vacuuming the house the other day, and my vacuum broke down, so I need a new dust filter for a Hoover Max Extract Pressure Pro Model 60. Can you help me with that?
Nice.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll give you the drop-off point. Yeah. So, what'd you guys think of Confessions? I mean...
I don't want to go first. Tiny, you go.
Okay.
I'll go first. I just want to say that Vince Gilligan, he just gets me. He and I need to have a conversation sometime. The part that
what do you think of Breaking Bad?
Breaking Bad. The part that made me say that was my favorite scene from the episode was when they met out in the desert.
Yes.
And I was sitting there watching it, listening to it, and I was just thinking, Walter was giving his whole spiel. And as he was saying it, I was like, God, can he just be genuine for once with Jesse?
Yeah.
Seriously,
Yeah.
just say something that matters to him for once. And then 10 seconds later, Jesse responds with, can you stop trying to work me, man? I was just like, oh my God, that's
awesome.
exactly what I was thinking. I was just like, finally he says it, and
Yes.
I don't know, it's exactly where my mind was. That's exactly what I was thinking, and it's like Vince Gilligan was inside my head.
It was. And that was great.
Right.
But the question was, and this is in my notes, when Walter hugs him, right, and Jesse starts to cry,
yes.
the look on Walter's face, is the hug an admission of guilt without actually having to apologize, without actually saying, you're right, I'll stop? Or is he still working him? What do you guys think?
I think he's still working him, and I think the hug is, and I think it may have been Damon Lindelof on Twitter pointed this out, or someone pointed it out, that the hug is like Michael Corleone's kiss to Fredo.
Wow.
Okay.
At the end of Godfather Part 2, or toward the end of Godfather Part 2.
Okay.
So it kind of signifies like Jesse he's right. He's right, and it's kind of like I don't know. He's right in saying that it's either he's gone or he's gone. Mm-hmm. He's either going to Alaska or he's going to Belize.
Okay.
Nice.
Did
yeah. Thank you.
what did Damon Lindelof have to do with that episode? Was he just commenting on it?
Oh, he's just a fan.
Okay.
He's just a fan. He tweeted, did you guys notice this, that when they're, I don't know if this signifies anything, I don't know if it's foreshadowing or anything, but when they're standing at the back of when they're leaning on Saul's car and the license plate's visible, the license plate's awesome.
Yeah.
Lawyer up, I love it. But they cut to it and they show them standing there, and you see the license plate in the center, and then they cut away to like Jesse's face or something, and then they cut back to it, and Walt is positioned over the L so that it just says WYR up or wire up. Maybe that could be like foreshadowing that someone's going to wear a wire, and I don't know. It's kind of a stretch, but then again, it's Breaking Bad.
Yeah, that's true.
I was going to say, I thought the whole hug, I thought that was intentionally ambiguous. Like we're not supposed to know. I don't think. I couldn't tell. I couldn't tell.
I can agree with that. You said you couldn't tell?
I couldn't tell what he's trying to convey with that hug. I could not tell.
I definitely agree with you that it's supposed to be ambiguous. The thing that made me feel a little bit, I don't know if it's sympathetic toward Walt or that it was an admission of guilt, is there's kind of a moment where he's hugging Jesse and he just kind of sighs, and there's a look on his face like, you know what I mean? Like he knows he feels bad.
Okay.
Which is strange because one of the next things he does is throw Hank under the bus big time.
Right. Yeah. We'll get to that in a second.
Yeah.
But I just want to say, going back to the hug, I feel like also some of the ambiguity is because the focal point of the hug was mostly fixed on Jesse's reaction to it.
Right.
And I think that was on purpose. And I loved that in the opening scene of the opening of the scene in the desert, you see Jesse just watching the tarantula. It's kind of, I believe it's supposed to signify or remind him of the kid that was shot after
sure.
Dead Freight.
Yep.
Which that I thought that was a nice touch. But since we hovered around it a couple seconds ago, the confession. Let's talk about that.
So Walter and Skyler, as was teased at the end of Talking Bad, were sitting at the Mexican restaurant waiting for we don't know, and then of course Hank and Marie walk in. Before this scene, Hank sits down to record what we imagine to be a confession. And Breaking Bad isn't really known for that kind of a twisty, misdirect kind of thing.
Right.
And I really appreciated it, and I bought it. So he gets up off the table toward a heated discussion, or after a heated discussion, leaves the DVD on the table, and we go, here we go. And then, of course, what's on the DVD, Matt?
What's on the DVD is Bryan Cranston winning his next Emmy.
I read somewhere somebody say that Aaron Paul got an Emmy, Bryan Cranston got an Emmy, and now Walter White deserves an Emmy.
There you go. That's perfect.
That's great.
Yeah, it was. Man, this episode was very heavy in the Walt is a manipulative bastard kind of arena.
Definitely.
And it was painted so well, and that was just another element to that kind of motif of the episode, or overarching theme of the episode. And to see him kind of, it's almost like he's reverting back to how he was before all this in the first season and everything. Which I want to mention something about that briefly here in a moment. But it was a really great performance by him. It was diabolical is the word that
that is a good word. Yeah, it was diabolical.
It's just seeing Dean Norris play up, like the reaction to he's just astounded. It's amazing.
Yeah, it was good.
Tiny, what'd you think of the confession?
I was pretty blown away by it, and especially because it seems so well thought out, because it's a very tight story, because it's just very plausible that Hank would be implicated in this, and that it wouldn't necessarily be easy to prove that he's part of it, but it wouldn't be easy to disprove it either.
Sure.
Because he was so involved in all of it for so long, and he has the whole family connection and all that. So I loved the way he laid it all out in the confession tape was great, and of course the acting was just incredible.
It was.
Can't say enough good things about Bryan Cranston.
You really can't.
B. Cranston.
The first time I watched it, I was floored by that scene, and I loved it. The second time I watched it, I was a little worried actually about some of the logic when I tried to get a little more critical. In particular, Walt's story is thin in the part where he says that Hank made him pay for the surgeries. Which is true. Walter did pay for the surgeries, but if Hank was a drug lord, why wouldn't he have the money to pay for it himself? That was a little off.
Well, I would say that, I mean, under the story of Hank being a drug lord and everything, he doesn't really have any of the motivation that like, it's just he's painting him as this greedy, horrible person. He's painting him as Heisenberg.
Okay.
So maybe it's just that's going to play into that. Like, that's the one. I mean, that is a small blemish in the story, but I think it could be covered if the story of Hank being a drug lord is to be believed.
Sure, and that's not bad. And I will say 3 episodes into Hank delaying the inevitable is bordering on stretching it out a bit too far. I'm with it now. I'm totally with Hank not saying something yet. But if he holds on, if he bites his tongue for another 2 episodes, I think I might cry foul. I think it's time to say something. What do you guys think?
That's fair.
I would just say I don't have a problem with that, because it's like one of my favorite scenes of the, what was it, first or second episode, where he tells Maria, like, when the second I tell them this, my career is over.
Mm-hmm. I know, but I just feel like, so I guess he's delaying losing his job no matter what. Even if he is right, even if they do get him, he's just worried about being laughed in the face.
Not laughed in the face, just he's more afraid of them. Like his career's over. Like his career's done. Like he has no career left, and he's worked for the DEA for a long time, and he's built that. So maybe he's just delaying. Maybe he's considering Walt's like, hey, I'm going to be dead soon anyway, so maybe he's just kind of delaying that.
Perhaps.
But it's also, and it also could be that he just doesn't have enough concrete evidence.
See, I mean that I don't buy. That I
really?
think if he came to the station, they would have plenty, and they could get a warrant. They could go after Walt. That's the part of Hank's story that I'm not buying, that he doesn't have enough evidence, and he doesn't. That's what he keeps saying. But I think if he said it to the DEA, listen, I have this, they would figure it out.
Let's consult with our resident criminal justice correspondent, Tiny.
Yeah, I was just about to respond in kind. I completely disagree with that, because he does not even have close to enough to get a warrant.
Right.
Essentially, all he has now is a hunch. He made a huge mistake when he took the Walt Whitman book out of the bathroom. Should have left it there.
Okay.
And then gone and told his whole story, and maybe he could have gotten something. I don't know. That would have been some evidence, some physical evidence.
Okay.
He really does not have enough to even get a warrant. And plus, even if they got a warrant, they would not find anything in his home. They wouldn't find anything in the car wash, and those are the only two places they could possibly search. So.
Okay. I
Sorry
just
to
feel
get all
like
technical on you.
No, that's okay. I'm glad. It's good to know. I just feel like maybe on this show, I can't think of an example, but on other shows they've found warrants for less. You know what I mean? If the plot needed it, they could get a warrant, but they're waiting on it.
Maybe.
I haven't felt that way at all. I mean, I've bought into that he just doesn't have enough. That's why he appealed to Jesse. Because he wants to get it concrete. Like, he wants to see Walt go away. I mean, he wants to put him away,
right,
but he needs to make sure that he's got his ducks in a row.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong.
Okay. I want to mention something about Walt that I noticed last week that I forgot to mention, and I also noticed it this week. His color, the color scheme that his clothes and everything, it's very beige. It's very, very drab, very kind of boring and dull. Mm-hmm. I feel like that harkens back to the first season where he's basically the same kind of thing. Like when he started out, he was like that, and I think that's indicative of maybe the cancer or something like that.
Yeah, and Skylar too is beige.
Skylar too,
and she was very blue for the middle seasons.
Yeah,
you know,
she was.
Also, Marie wore black and Hank wore purple out of solidarity, I suppose.
I noticed that. Yeah, Tiny, what do you think of the colors?
I was going to say that I think Walt is so beige because he's just trying to blend back in, and they live in the desert, and the desert is beige.
Sure.
It's
nice. Okay.
Just blending back into society because he's trying to go straight now. You know.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Just my thought.
I like that. Yeah. The cold open when I was watching it, I was just like, "Shut up, Todd!" Because come on, it's supposed to be just awesome. You guys. It was great. It was great, and I love Jesse Plemons. But I'm like, dude, cool your jets. Don't be telling people stuff.
Yeah.
So,
really.
Do we think that Todd's uncle and other white supremacist uncle friend are those the people for whom Walt needs that M60? Do we think?
I'm guessing, yeah.
Yeah, I'm feeling that way now too.
I'm guessing it's going to be Lydia's crew.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I guess, are they now Lydia's crew? I mean, is Todd Lydia's crew?
Well, yeah, since considering they killed everyone else in the previous episode and they took all their equipment, I think.
Yeah,
so.
yeah,
right.
But they're they're just hired men. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Are they? I guess is she just adopting them as her crew?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Because wasn't Todd originally like her guy or whatever?
No,
Todd
he was
worked
with
for the pesticide.
Yeah,
That's
Vominos
okay.
Pest Control.
He knew Mike.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and those guys are just his connection.
Okay.
So we see the confession, which is not exactly the confession that we thought it was at the beginning.
Right.
And then Marie is trying to keep the kids safe, and so she, of course, tried to steal Holly in the last episode, and she invites Walt Jr., Flynn, over for dinner, and Walter brilliantly makes him stay. What do you guys think of that?
Another great instance of him being manipulative.
Yep.
And also, I would like to point out that I'm willing to bet that I think Murray's grave mistake was inviting him to dinner and not breakfast, because he would have ran right over there.
Yeah. That's funny.
It's stupid, but anyway.
Yeah.
No, I loved it. I loved that scene, and just in RJ, I don't know how to pronounce his last name.
I think it's Mitty.
Yeah. His performance was great in that scene.
I agree.
It was awesome.
Very more diabolical.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. I can no longer. I just can't root for. I can't root for Walt anymore. I just can't do it because he's just so awful. I mean,
yeah,
what he's been doing with Jesse, and just he manipulated his own son.
Yeah,
and he's been fairly straightforward with his wife the past season or two, but it's had a horrible effect on her, which is something I wanted to talk about. Just the
scene where he comes in. Right toward the middle, the scene where he comes in before the climax, and we'll talk about that in a minute. He comes into the car wash, and she's kind of in the office alone, kind of in the dark, and just staring. Skylar,
it's like her externalized numbness is so hard to watch because she just did not ask for any of this at all,
right,
and he's just basically forced it on her, and she's kind of done it she's stuck by him out of duty, I think, and I don't even know if she really loves him anymore. I think it's just because of the vow they took. I guess she's still there, and because of the kids,
and I think it's part of
so hard to watch.
Yeah, I think part of it is that she's and she's starting. Maybe she did before, but maybe she's starting to really see the monster that's underneath him. That he is, and with the climax of the episode, throughout the episode, there was great, like when the show ends, I don't know, I'd be hard pressed to find another show that so perfectly balances comedy with intense drama like that. Because I mean the scene at the table with the guacamole, and then Walt rushing over to get the gun or to check to make sure Jesse wasn't there, and like you see him pull up, and then
they were great.
He takes a second to compose himself.
So
in every line that Saul said, obviously.
Yeah. So last week we went around the table and we all agreed that in this episode the one thing we wanted was more Jesse, and boy did we get it.
Oh gosh,
man.
yes.
Aaron Paul is just in the scene where he's talking to Saul, and they're getting after he calls the guy, and you can like it's so nuanced the way that he's you can see his mind working, like, okay, I'm getting myself kind of psyched up for it, but he's just absolutely petrified of what's going to happen.
Well, at this point, I think it's a real possibility that he might just be killed.
Yeah,
you know, and that's half the fear.
Agreed.
And so you just see him take a hit off of his marijuana cigarette, and then I almost wondered if there was ricin in it, because it started to get a little shaky, and his eyes were bugging out. It was an odd scene. I was wondering exactly what was happening, and then I kind of just figured he's terrified.
Oh yeah,
terrified.
And it was played so well.
Yep.
Yeah.
So he walks out the door. Cut to, he's standing on the side of the road, and he's a little nervous, right? Because the guy is going to come and get him. He's going to take him to Alaska or wherever.
Yeah.
And he's searching through his pockets, and he discovers that his weed has been lifted, and he looks at his cigarettes, and it clicks.
Oh yes.
Were you down with the click?
Oh, absolutely.
Do you think he would have made that connection?
Mm-hmm. Tony?
I think so. I thought it was... I don't know. I thought it was weird that that's the time where he finally noticed that the ricin was gone.
Yeah. It was a little convenient.
It was.
Sure.
I was confused. It cut to commercial break first.
Well,
and I was confused.
Yeah, to say, I mean, that's not when he realized that the ricin was gone. I mean, he knew that the ricin was gone and everything.
Yeah.
Like, that's just when he just pieced it together that
right.
Huel had lifted it.
Right.
Because Huel lifted the weed from him.
Exactly.
Okay, that's much more believable.
Yeah, okay.
Well,
like that.
He puts it together. He realizes that Huel has that trick up his sleeve.
Yeah.
Right. And then because that happened, and this is the way I rationalized it in my mind, because initially I was thrown. I was like, wait. Does he think there's ricin in the cigarette? Does he think this guy's going to kill him? I was totally confused until it came back. And then I even had to go back and do a little rationalizing in my head. Because I was trying to figure out why he would make that leap to say that because Huel has this ability, Walt definitely poisoned Brock with Lily of the Valley. You know what I mean? Does he just know that Walter is that evil that's it?
Now he does, I think.
And I guess it's because he always had those suspicions, huh?
Yeah, and now that he knows that Mike is what happened with Mike, I mean, he obviously hasn't admitted it, but I mean, he knows that Mike's dead.
Yeah. Right.
At the hand of Walt.
Yeah. So it was kind of like all along. I mean, he tried to kill Walter for poisoning Brock. Right. Trying to kill Brock. And I think even after it was cleared up, Walt was still the lead suspect in his mind. You know? And the way I rationalized it was not that he figured it all out. He was just like, it is more likely now, with the information that I know, that Walt did it than it was before.
Yeah.
So something has to be done. And it's also partly Jesse just loves to fly off the handle and make rash decisions like that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
And oh boy, he flies off the handle.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you? I'm curious though. Did you guys have a bit of an issue with that ending, like literally the final scene where he's just going through Walt's house with the gas can?
I was okay with that.
I had an issue with it because of the cold open of the first episode. We know that his house does not get burned to the ground.
Yeah.
Well, but does it get burnt out? I wish I could see it again.
It's closed off. And I'm trying to...
With that much gasoline, that house would have been burnt to the ground. I mean,
so. Okay.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, and also, and I was reading on Twitter after, accidentally, I don't usually watch scenes from next week, but apparently I've heard that scenes from next week show Walt Jr. eating breakfast in their kitchen. Is this true?
I didn't watch them.
Probably.
I didn't watch the scenes for next week.
Maybe he hears Holly cry or something.
Yeah, maybe.
He's a sucker for kids.
That's probably something that happens, I would bet.
Yeah.
True.
But all I was thinking afterward was like, oh man, the lottery ticket.
Yeah, that's true.
Wow, I didn't think of that. Good call.
Yeah. All I thought was like, man, all that money. Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
But yeah, so that about, I mean, any other thoughts about the episode?
I don't think so. It was well done. Mm-hmm. So that kind of reaches the end of our episode 3 recap. What we plan to do here is we're going to talk about the first 3 episodes, and then we're going to talk about the middle 4 episodes. Am I correct?
I think we're going to do 3, and then 2.
3, and then 2. Okay.
Well,
we'll
do. Are you guys cool with that?
Yeah, that's fine with me. Okay. So we've got this first podcast, which is the first 3 episodes, and then we're going to do 3 more. And then we're going to do the final 2 episodes. So usually I say, what do you guys want to see in the next episode? But what do you guys want to see in the next 3? What do you guys want to be talking about in our next podcast?
I want to be. I don't want the. I guess I don't want the cancer to take to take on. Like be on the back burner. I'd like to see his cancer actually start to have an effect. Start to affect how he can handle all this. Mm-hmm. Because it's kind of hinted at in the, the future cold opens we've been seeing and stuff like that.
Right.
I'd like to see that happen. Geez, I don't know. I don't want to. I don't want to know what I want to happen. I guess that doesn't sound.
Yeah.
That sounds weird. But
you
I
want to have
just,
no idea.
I want to be surprised.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
As for me, I would like to see. I mean, anything that they do is probably going to be just amazing and great. Mm-hmm. But I think I would personally like to see, or I could see them going the route of Hank maybe going rogue a bit, kind of playing a little dirty with Walt. Mm-hmm. Maybe, or it could just be he's going to take it back. He's going to be set on the back burner. And then maybe Lydia and her crew are going to come to the forefront, and then that's when it's going to accelerate things. But I would like to see at some point in these next 3 episodes, whatever happens that makes him go on the run, I want that to happen, and I want it to be because I want a decent amount of time to be dedicated to him on the run. Like I wouldn't want it to be because we've seen these flash forwards, and we've seen him in this vastly different state as we've seen him before, and I think it would be not really a ripoff and not really a cop out, but I think it would be. I don't think it would do as much service to the series if they just saved all of that for the finale.
I agree. And that kind of leads into something I want to see. I'd like to see a heavy portion of an episode dedicated to just Walter with very few lines doing things. Okay. I love the way Bryan Cranston acts without dialogue. He just brings so much character to Walt, even without speaking, just body language wise. And I really would like to see where that goes. I definitely want to see how he gets to where he is and have there be time spent on the run. And then, of course, my obvious one. I love Jesse. I want him to find out about Jane.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
Me too.
I don't want that to go uncovered.
Right. I don't know how he'll figure it out, but I would love to see him find out, and that maybe that'll be the final catalyst. That, I mean, granted, he has a pretty low opinion of Walt now. He's about to burn down his house,
right.
But I think that'll be the thing that's like maybe he'll be like, all right, I'm going to bury the hatchet with Hank, and we're going to team up, and we're going to go after Heisenberg.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Sounds good. Should be fun. Right. I can't wait to see it.
All right, well, guys, thanks for listening to this bonus episode. You can find us on Twitter at Obsessive Viewer, at Obsessive Tiny, and at I am Mike White. Follow the blog on Facebook at The Obsessive Viewer, and check out the blog itself at obsessiveviewer.com. And look forward to here in a few weeks where we'll post the next segment of these final Breaking Bad discussion episodes for the final episodes of the series. Until then, talk to you guys later.
Thank you for listening, everybody.
Thanks
for listening, guys.